So we're continuing on our series of wiring diagrams for lighting circuits, and this one again is using the two-plate method, but we're two-way this time. In a previous video presentation we looked at the two-plate method, okay, and we looked at it from a one-way point of view, so we only had one switch controlling the lighting points and our consumer unit. So we're going to go on and now and extend that system to be two-way. So in other words, we'll be using one gang, so one switch on the front. And as we look on the back there, we can see that we've got a common L1 and L2, common L1 and L2. So these are two-way switches. I've also done a video on the channel where I've actually physically wired and connected up the two-plate method being two-wayed. And again, that video will be worth looking at. But this is the wiring diagram to help us when we get to making those connections. We've got our consumer unit, we've seen in previous video presentations, our two-way switches and a lighting point. And again, in my one-way two-plate method, I actually changed the lighting point, which was a standard batten lamp holder in the workshop. So we took that off and said the two-plate method is likely to be used when we're installing a number of LED downlights because it cuts down the number of connections up here at the actual lighting point itself. So we could have it where we make a final connection. We can have it where our LED downlights have the connections to be made actually physically within them. So there's a couple of different options there. If we use this option here, we're going to need to make sure that we've got some sort of connector. So we'd end up making our PVC cables into here and connected into there. But that's another story, and there is other videos on that on the channel of how to make the connections for LED downlights. So consumer unit, we're going to take the feed directly to our switch because it's the two-plate method, and we're going to make it two-way, and we're obviously going to take a cable up to feed our lighting point, likely to be LED downlights. Again, in the workshop, we're going to be using 1mm squared PVC, PVC twin and CPC cable. The brown conductor is going to be line. The green and yellow one here will be identified on top of this copper. So remember, we're going to have to put on our green and yellow sleeving to identify this copper conductor as our circuit protective conductor. And we've got our blue neutral, and using the two-plate method, the blue conductor will always be our neutral when we're using it from the consumer unit and to our lighting point. Remember when we looked at the three-plate method, there's loads of wiring diagrams and installation videos using the three-plate method. Sometimes the blue conductor can be identified with brown sleeving as a switching line, but in this method it's going to remain our neutral. So we're going to put our cables in. Remember, you'll be using a ruler for this. I won't, and I'm doing it upside down as I say in all the videos. Consumer unit and two-way switches. We're going to bring a cable in here. So we're going to bring our 1mm squared PVC, PVC twin and CPC cable from our consumer unit. It will take whatever route it needs, up walls, under floors, etc. And it's going to appear at our first switch. And this is now a two-way switch. And we're going to go off and make it two-wayed, controlling this lighting point here. So let's put some of these conductors in first. So we get our pens ready. So if we start off with our CPC, this is what we're classing as our earth terminal within our consumer unit. So here we've got our fuse connection here. So this is our fuse or circuit breaker, and this is our neutral link. Remember, the connectors in our consumer units at college will look a little bit different from this. So it's the top of the breaker, the neutral bar and the earth bar. So let's bring the green and yellow conductor in for our CPC. I'm going to have to try my best to keep them out of each other's way. So if I bring my CPC up as if it was going up and under floors and round, etc. And then let's bring it down into our switch. And I'm going to swing it round and put it into our earth terminal within our back of our switch. This is normally a plastic switch box for us at college. It could be a metal one, which will have also an earth terminal in it. It could be that you've got a metal light switch here. The difference being on the metal light switch, this one being a plastic, there will be an earth terminal to screw your CPCs in, because we know, and in previous videos we talked about it, that a metal light switch, if it was metal, is an exposed conductive part and needs connecting to the CPC. So at the minute, at college, that's held in the back of the box. Often we like to just strike a little bit of yellow on that to put our CPC round. So let's bring that round like so. And that's our CPC connection made. So we've brought a CPC from the consumer unit. We've got our neutral and our line conductors to bring in. So if we're going to bring our neutral in, we've got to leave that somewhere in here, and we've got our line to bring in. So our neutral isn't going to be connected within the actual switch itself. So there's no facility for a neutral to go in here. We've got common L1 and L2. And as we did before in our one-way circuit, we put it into some form of connector. So it might be that we use a Vargo or Wago, whichever you want to call it, an in-shore connector or a through crimp, okay, in order to make a connection in here. So we're going to bring our neutral and we're going to make a connector in there. Let's pull those to one side. So my neutral comes around. I'm going to try and keep it pretty close, and it's got to go into some form of connection here. So if I make my connection out of different colour, so just make a little connector there for my neutral connection. So we've got those two so far. We've got our CPC and our neutral being brought in, so we just need our line conductor bringing in. Our line conductor now has a choice of where it's going to go, and we're going to bring it into either one of these two terminals here. So if you look at the switch here, they're labelled on this one L1 and L2. It wouldn't matter which one you went in, so there's not even a Gary rule for this. It doesn't matter which one you go in, but we're not going to put it in common. So we're going to bring our permanent line into either L1 or L2. I don't mind which. So let's bring our brown line conductor around, and we're going to bring that into here like so. So we've got that CPC connection to the back of the box, the neutral into possibly a Wago connector, and our permanent line connection into either L1 or L2, doesn't matter. So that's our first PVC twin and CPC cable coming in. And now we've got to be thinking about either the cable that comes across or the cable that comes up to the light. Well, let's go with the 3-core cable and CPC that comes across. So exactly the same as any other method that we've looked at where we're using PVC cables. We've got, this case is our 3-core cable. So we've got our grey, our black, our brown, and our bare conductor here, which will be identified again with green and yellow sleeving to identify as a CPC. So a 3-core cable is going to come from this switch to this switch. Okay, so that's what we're worried about next. Now, it might be that we come straight across, it might be that you come down and the floorboards, up walls, etc. We're interested in the physical positioning of the cables within the switches, not necessarily how they're going to make it between the two. So I've got to try and make it as neat as I possibly can. We're going to use brown here, this brown one here, get it right, Gaz. The brown one here is going to be connected here in either L1 or L2 with the other brown conductor of our incoming PVC cable. And then we're going to have black as always as our common. So black will join our two commons together. And then we're going to use grey out of the remaining either L1 or L2 terminal we haven't used at the minute. And there will be another connection coming in with that in a minute. So that's what we're going to do. And of course the CPC goes in here. So let's get rid of some cables first, or conductors. Let's get rid of the CPC. So let's draw that straight across and put a green and yellow conductor across there to make that our CPC connection. So we're in our 3-core, we've got rid of the CPC. I said that the black conductor will be common. So we're going to put our common connection in using black. So our black one, again, they can come straight, we could come down, but I'm going to just come straight across with my black as my common link. Remember, it's a switching line conductor, so it will need identifying with brown sleeving at both ends. So must remember to put our brown sleeving on. So again, I would identify my black switching line conductor with brown sleeving. So I've identified it with brown pen. That leaves us now with a grey conductor to bring across. So I need my grey pen. So we're going to bring the grey one across. Now, where's that going to come from? So I've got it here, so I'm going to logically, but it wouldn't matter which one it went in. I could go straight across to here. Everybody wants it to look logically, so I'm going to bring it up and bring it into here, and I'm going to bring my brown one up and into here, but it wouldn't matter. Again, it doesn't matter which way around they are here, as long as we make the right connections here. So I'm going to bring my grey out along with my 3-core and into here. And again, I need to identify that with brown. It's a switching line conductor, so brown sleeving on both ends. And then I've got just one conductor left. So we've used the black, the CPC and the grey. We've got the brown of the 3-core, which is going to come out of here and go into here. So let's pull that one across. So we'll bring that one up, along and into there like so. And as it is brown already, obviously no identification needed. So we've got the black, the grey, the brown and the green and yellow of a 3-core. The two commons are linked together. Here, it wouldn't matter which way around they were. The brown conductor can go in L1 or L2. The grey conductor can go in L1 or L2. Okay. Over here, we've got the brown incoming from our consumer unit, line connection connected to the brown of the 3-core. And now we need another connection from here and a neutral and a CPC for the cable coming out. So what we're going to go back to is the following. We've got another cable coming, PVC, twin and CPC cable, 1 mil in this case. So that one now comes from this switch up to the light itself. It brings the neutral, the CPC, and the switching line from this circuit out and up to the lighting points. So that cable's next to the one we're going to put in. So we're going to need a neutral. So again, this is a little bit, so I'm going to bring it out the connector. I'm just going to swing it round and bring up my neutral. I've got my CPC, so let's get that next. Let's bring my CPC out. CPC comes out. And let's just get a little strike down the side of that. CPC comes out, and now I've got my switching line conductor, which is going to come out of here. So we're going to bring that one across and that one up. So effectively now we've got a neutral, switching line and CPC. So we've got a neutral, switching line and CPC, 1mm squared twin and CPC cable coming from this switch up into the lighting point itself. Doesn't matter what we use over here at the light itself. Obviously, we've just got to make a reasonable job of connecting them up. So I bring my neutral in. I can bring, let's see which way we're going to go here. Let's go, bring my switching line in, and then I'm going to bring my CPC in like so. So that brings that cable to the lighting point. As I said before, it could be that you're making these lighting connections in a box. So it could be that we've got something like this to make those twin and CPC connections in. It might be one of these type of boxes or one of these. Okay, that cable goes into, or if you look at the line point here, you can see there's some connections labeled in there. Might be difficult to see, but you've got switching lines, neutrals, and you've got CPC connections in there as well. So we've got switching line, CPC neutral, neutral, CPC, switching line. So those connections could have gone in straight into the LED downlighter itself. Okay, but often there's a box, doesn't matter which we do. So let's have a look at our circuit itself. Here we have a 1mm squared cable bringing in permanent line, neutral and CPC into our switch. We need to put the neutral into some form of connector, as we said previously, something like a Vargo or a Wago connector. So Wago connector, the neutrals go together. CPCs go into the terminal because there is a CPC terminal in the back of this plastic box we fit at college. It could be that it's a metal box, it could be that it's a metal switch. You find the appropriate CPC terminals in order to make your connections. And then we've got a permanent line coming in, which we've put into either L1 or L2. We've then introduced a 3-core cable from this switch across to this one. We've linked our commons together. We've taken our CPCs across. We've used the brown of our 3-core cable out of either L1 or L2 where our permanent line was, comes across. And then we've got our grey connection here. Our grey connection then is connected to the 1mm squared cable, which is going up to our lighting point up here, along with a neutral and a CPC. And then we can work out whether the lighting point is actually on or off at the moment. So we'll do that next. So let's follow the line connection through. The line comes down here, permanently line. It's connected here to this conductor. So it's going to come this way. It will also go that way, but let's go down here. Comes down here, comes down here, and it stops there. So it can't go anywhere. Let's go the other way around. It comes down there, down there, down there. So in other words, there's no permanent line getting onto this section here. So that doesn't get a switching line connection. So at the minute, with a neutral, a CPC, and no connection to the line, this lamp up here is actually in the off position. It wouldn't matter which one of the blades we operate. So at the minute, the blades are in this position here. Whichever one we operate now, the light will come on. So let's fictitiously suggest that this blade here now has moved across to here. So let's bring it down. Our line comes down to here. This blade is now over to here. So it only comes along here to here, okay? We can see that blade is down, so we go down here, along the black, and remember this blade is in the opposite position. It brings the line connection onto here, which comes up to the lamp itself. The lamp now has a switching line, a neutral and a CPC connection, and in that position, boof, the light turns on. Let's repeat the process. Let's return this blade back to the position it is actually sitting in. So it was back to the effectively off position. And I said it wouldn't matter which switch you turned on. We turned this one into a different position. In other words, making it on. Remembering where we have two-way switches, down is not always going to be on. It depends on the switch sequence you've got. And we've looked at that in other videos. Down, it could be on or it could be off. And you can remember from the bottom of the stairs to the top of the stairs at home, maybe as a landing switch, sometimes you operate it in the other position to turn it on. So let's go through again. So we're going to leave this one as it was. So we go back to its original position, but we're going to move this blade across. So this one now is going to be across here. Permanent line comes down into here. It can go down there because we're not going to change this blade, and it can come across here. So let's follow it through. This blade's going to be over to here. So we're going to come down to here. Okay, we come across to here. Yeah, so we come to here. So this blade now is in the this position just over here. Okay, so we've got, okay, so it's not going to go down there, but remember it can go down here, remembering this blade is across in this position, up here and through to here, and therefore turns on the actual light itself. It takes a little bit of thinking about that. It doesn't help that obviously I can't physically change the drawing blades. Let's just go through that again. This one here we're going to operate. So we're in this position, this blade is going to be across to here. Our permanent line comes down to here. It can go down there, and it also can come down here. But when it gets to here, obviously this blade was moved across. So it also comes down this blade, across the black common, remembering we'd altered this blade position by operating the switch, comes up, puts a switching line connection onto here, and we turn it on. So when it's on in any configuration, you can turn it off by operating one of the switches. So if we've got it, say, on in that position, if I operate that switch, it will turn it off. If I operate that switch, it will turn it on. If I operate that switch, it will turn it off. If I operate that switch, it will turn it on. And you can play around with the drawing, if you've drawn it out yourself, moving the blades of the switches around to see that happen. Light on, light off, depending on the blade switch positions. I've also been asked the question, how do you carry this system on into another room? Well, you're going to have to take another 1mm squared PVC twin CPC cable out of here. You take another neutral connection out. You take another permanent line out and a CPC out, and you take the permanent line, a neutral and CPC into the next room and repeat the process at the switch itself. So it gets quite crowded down here. You'd find 3 brown ones in here, 3 blue ones, 4 CPCs, etc. So it does get a little bit crowded when you're using the 2-plate method, but having a lot of connections at the switches mean you have very few connections at the lighting points, and therefore it makes it easier to fit things such as LED downlights. Okay, so hopefully this series of videos are helping you understand the 2-plate method. Remember, you can download the drawing, it's in the description, all the drawings for lighting circuits are. There's also some physical videos of me actually connecting up this circuit with the cables which accompany this as well, so make sure you check out that one. So we're going to move this on to 2-way and intermediate in another video, but until then, I hope this video has been some help.